We are officially halfway through the year, and other than spending every waking day in a state of panic at the seemingly increasing speed of the passage of time, I've spent 2025 playing a lot of really good video games. 2025 has been extremely kind to us video game wise, so I thought it would be a good idea to round up the 10 games I've enjoyed the most so far. Before we do though, there is a couple of things I want to mention. The first is, I am literally just one guy, so I haven't been able to play everything, which is why Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will not be on the list. Secondly, if you do end up enjoying the video, then please consider subscribing, as we are trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But enough of that nonsense, let's start with number 10, South of Midnight. Listen, this game oozes atmosphere. It's got this rich southern gothic vibe that you just don't see often in games, full of moss-draped trees, swampy backroads, and folklore creatures that feel like they're crawled straight out of a ghost story. It's the kind of world where you can practically smell the humidity. The art style is gorgeous, it's stylized in a way that looks like a living diorama, stop motion inspired with hand-painted textures that gives everything this really surreal dreamlike quality. Even when the game slows down, you can still just appreciate the lighting and the colour palette and the way the characters move. The story itself plays out like a southern myth passed down through generations. You're navigating a world of fading magic and ancient songs. It's not flashy storytelling, but it's honest, and the setting does a lot of heavy lifting to make every interaction feel meaningful. Now, the combat. That's the weak link. It's functional at best. You've got light attacks, you've got heavy attacks, you've got a couple abilities, but nothing that you haven't seen in dozens of other better combat games. The animations don't feel as tight as the rest of the game does, and the encounters really start to feel repetitive incredibly fast. The devs clearly knew this too, because you can actually skip the entirety of combat if you want to. You can literally just go in the settings and turn it off. Still, even with that major caveat, South of Midnight earns its spot here thanks to its world building, its tone and its artistic vision. It's not trying to be everything, it just wants to be itself, and I found that quite refreshing. Alright, I will be real with you, there are probably 10 better games than Lost Records that come out this year, but I've got a soft spot for this genre. If you give me a story-driven, slow-burn narrative adventure with emotional stakes and good atmosphere, then I'm in. Lost Records checks all of these boxes, even if it did stumble at the end point. The premise is simple but effective. A group of girls who were inseparable for one summer in the 90s reconnect decades later to confront something awful that happened during that summer that they've all tried to forget. The game splits between two timelines, the 90s and the modern day, and the way that it handles memory, regret and trauma I found really compelling. The best part is the relationship between the four girls. They feel incredibly real. There's a lot of tension, inside jokes, old wounds. It's messy in the way that real friendships are. The writing doesn't go for melodrama either. I do feel it's quite restrained, and I did feel that meant the emotional beats landed harder when they did hit. Atmosphere-wise, the game absolutely nailed it. The small town nostalgia is really heavy, but not too cheesy, although it is, but it's intentionally so. Speaking of which, obviously, part of the atmosphere is the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. Every track feels handpicked to pull you into the mood of the scene. It's subtle when it needs to be, and it's haunting when it matters. However, the ending is rough. It's rushed, it's baffling. The last 30 minutes, it tries to sequel bait you. You can feel the creative team straining to stick the landing, and it just doesn't quite work. There are a couple character decisions that felt really, really strange. There's one character in particular in the part 2 of the game. I'm not going to name them just in case, but they completely messed up their characterization. Still, for me, the journey was absolutely worth it. If you're into this kind of game as much as I am, it'll probably hit you in the same way. If not, then yeah, this game is probably not worth trying, but this is my top 10. I'm glad I played it. Moving on to number 8. Doom: The Dark Ages is exactly what it sounds like. It's Doom in the Dark Ages. You have a shield that could be thrown like a giant Captain America disc, and honestly, I felt like when it wanted to work, Doom: The Dark Ages really worked. The combat loop, especially in the tighter, claustrophobic areas, is classic id Software brilliance. The shield mechanics in particular are a massive standout. Not only can you parry and stagger enemies with it, but you can also throw it mid-combo, dash across the arena, and keep the flow going without ever really slowing down. That's what I mean, in the smaller areas, the game just works. It's chaos in the best way. But then every now and then they decide to give you a wide open level, and I just don't understand why. I do not like it at all, but alas, we move. There's also the dragon and the mech sections, which just shouldn't be here at all. The dragon flying parts are really clunky and disorienting. The mech stuff feels like it's in the wrong game. It's an attempt at changing up the pacing, but it doesn't work. All it does is make you wish you were playing the actual game more. There's also an attempt of a story in this one. It's not very good, not even in a bad it's good way, it's just bad, don't listen to it. Still, even with the missteps, when Doom the Dark Ages is good, it's really good. The combat is still some of the best in the business, and when it leans into what made Doom special, the tight spaces, the relentless pacing, and the ridiculous carnage, it absolutely delivers. It just gets a little lost when it tries to be anything more than that. I'm always wary when putting multiplayer games on a list like this. I try not to put them too high, but I just cannot ignore the amount of fun I have had with Rematch since its launch last month. It's fast-paced, five-a-side football, and they absolutely nailed the feel. The controls are deceptively complex, there aren't a ton of buttons, it's very easy to learn which button does what, but the way you can use those buttons to change up the game is crazy. The movement feels really responsive, you can shield the ball, you can do slide tackles, standing tackles, hard kick, light kick, there's so much going on. When you're chaining passes together with teammates that understand what the hell they're doing, the game is awesome. It scratches an itch I didn't even really know I had. But here's the catch. Most players have zero football IQ. I don't mean they're not football geniuses, I mean they have zero football IQ. Like the moment you jump into a game with randoms, you are praying that one other person on your team knows what a pass is. People dribble into traffic, they chase the ball around all the time and they never defend. When it works, it really works, but when it doesn't, and that is a lot of the time, it can be painful. The biggest issue this game has is the players themselves. And don't get me started on the ranked mode. Easily one of the worst implementations I've ever seen of a ranked mode. There's no matchmaking balance, clunky progression, it doesn't reflect skill at all, you can't even de-rank, there's no MMR, it's basically not a ranked mode. Still, even with all that, I keep coming back. There is something in the moment-to-moment gameplay of Rematch that just clicks. It's got heart, it's got potential, and when you're playing with people who get it, even if it's just once every 5 games, it's absolute magic. It is a flawed game, no doubt, but one I genuinely can't stop playing. They chose to call this one Pirate Yakuza, because that's exactly what it is. You're a Yakuza, and you're a pirate. And honestly, that's kind of all you need to know to be sold. You play as Majima, who wakes up with amnesia, decides to become a pirate, and then just kind of rolls with it. It's unhinged in exactly the way you would expect a pirate game with Majima to be. This one's back to the real-time combat, and it's fast, it's chaotic, a bit rough around the edges, but still fun as hell. There's a flow to it that's really satisfying once you get into the rhythm, with Majima doing wild spinning sword attacks, improvised brawler combos, and of course a ton of heat moves that are just completely over the top. The whole thing is just classic Majima energy all around. The story is ridiculous in the best way, it's part heartfelt, it's part fever dream, it's nowhere near one of the series' best stories, but I really did enjoy it for what it was. Hawaii is also back too. It's a blast to explore with the familiar locations mixed in with a bunch of the new seafaring stuff, and even though pretty much all the pirate mechanics are really stripped down, I still find that the game is just a nice excuse to slap a pirate hat on Majima. That is enough for me. It's not the deepest game in the series, and yeah, the pirate stuff could have been a lot better, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is a riot. I still enjoyed the writing, and I'm always down for more Yakuza in general. It's dumb, it's loud, it's lovable, and it knows exactly what it's doing. Everyone always gets a bit up in arms about remasters being on a list like this, and look, I do see your point, I get you. However, first of all, this was my first time playing Oblivion, so I'm counting it, and second of all, it's my list, so shut up and cry about it. Anyways, I finally see why this game had such a hold on people for so long. The remaster might be doing some heavy lifting visually, but underneath all that, I still just think this game is awesome. There's something really special about just existing in an Elder Scrolls world. You start off in a prison cell, you pick a direction, and the game basically says, alright, go nuts. You've got a ridiculous number of spells, skills, and weapons at your disposal, and the freedom is overwhelming in the best way possible. Do you want to join a guild? Do you want to go and pickpocket everyone? Do you want to go on a killing spree? Go do it. The game will say fine. And yeah, the game isn't perfect. The dungeon design gets a bit repetitive. There's a lot of samey ruins and caves that really blend together. Some quests carry a lot more weight than others. But the real joy of the game is the in-between moments. Wandering into a town, overhearing an NPC that kicks off a side quest, experimenting with spell creation, fast-talking a shopkeeper with the weird persuasion minigame that I still do not understand. It's all a bit janky, sure, but it's alive in a way that very few games are. It's just a great time. I came in not knowing what to expect, but now I get why Oblivion means so much to so many people. For someone coming in fresh, it feels like stepping into a massive, unpredictable fantasy sandbox where anything can happen, and it usually does. Alright, so I usually don't like survival games, I bounce off base builders incredibly quick, but the altars. This game must have been laced with something, because I could not stop playing. I beat it in 2 days, fully locked in, no shame. The core concept alone is already doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's basically what if your crew were made entirely of alternate versions of yourself. That is such a clever premise. You're stuck on a hostile alien planet, trying to escape, and your only chance of survival is creating these alters from branching life decisions you could have made in your life. So one might be a botanist, another a doctor, another a scientist, and they all have your face but with different skills, personalities and memories. It's weird, it's existential, and it works way better than it has any right to. But the real magic is in the balance between efficiency and humanity. It's not just about maximising your daily routines. You can treat your alters like tools, but they won't be too happy about it. You need to make sure that you don't ignore their emotional needs. These are people. They will argue, they will burn out, they will question why they exist, and you're the leader. You have to manage that. Exploration is also incredibly satisfying. You can go in any direction and you will find something that could help you. It might not be what you were hoping to find, but you'll find something. The alters did not just win me over, it owned me for 2 days straight. It's thoughtful, it's addictive, and it's one of the most creative spins on the survival genre that I have ever seen, as somebody who doesn't really play it, so that sentiment doesn't really mean much. Anyway, on to number 2. If we're talking pure co-op experiences, like actual designed for 2-player stuff, not just, hey, we added a second player, then Split Fiction might just be the best co-op game ever made. I know that's a big claim. I know people are going to point to even It Takes Two, or the older stuff like Portal 2, with that nostalgic gleam in their eye, but if we're being honest, to me, Split Fiction clears it. The level design is next level. Every single area feels handcrafted to make sure both players are doing something meaningful, not just helping each other, but relying on each other in smart, inventive ways. The puzzles constantly evolve, and the way it introduces mechanics, then subverts them or finds a new way to utilise them is just a masterclass in design. And not in a punishing way. It hits that perfect balance of, okay, this is tricky, and oh my god, we actually did that. You can finish a level with your friend, and you both just feel like you contributed to something much better than the two of you singularly. And then there is the story. It's fine, it's there. It features 2 writers getting trapped in their own stories. I think they could have done a lot more with what is honestly a really intriguing concept, but none of that matters because the gameplay is doing all the heavy lifting anyway. Really, the only thing keeping this game from being unanimously crowned the GOAT of co-op to me is nostalgia. If this exact game had come out 15 years ago, people would be calling it an all-timer today, and the notion of any other co-op game being better than it would seem absurd. But hey, that's just me. Please don't lynch me. Okay, so Death Stranding 2 is still very much Death Stranding. You're still lugging packages across massive landscapes, you're balancing cargo, you're slipping on rocks, and you're trying not to fall into a ravine. But now, with better boots, cooler gadgets, and way more stuff unlocked a hell of a lot earlier, and that change alone makes such a huge difference to the pacing of this game. The first game made you suffer before it let you enjoy things. This one, not so much. Within the first few hours, you've already got access to stuff like the zip lines, upgraded exoskeletons, all the stuff that made late game Death Stranding so fun is here from almost the start, and it makes the loop so much smoother. It's still deliberate and meditative, but now it respects your time a lot more, and the gameplay loop, it shouldn't work, but it does. There is something incredibly addictive about planning a route, loading up your gear, and figuring out how to deliver something across a haunted wasteland filled with time, rain, and oil monsters. That said, while the gameplay feels a lot more refined and better paced than the first, I did find the story a lot weaker. The emotional core just isn't quite as strong. I felt like some of the newer characters felt more like ideas than people. It still tries to hit you with the big themes, but I don't feel like it was as focused as the first game was. But then again, this is Kojima, so even when it stumbles in style. The weirdness is off the charts in the best way. The man knows how to build a moment, even if it doesn't make any form of sense. That signature blend of sincerity, sci-fi absurdity, and cinematic flair is still here, and it's always endearing, even if you're staring at the screen thinking, what the hell is happening right now? So yeah, more streamlined, more fun to play, slightly messier in the narrative department, but still a game that somehow makes delivering a box feel meaningful. I don't fully understand why I love this game, but I do. Also, do not play this game without playing the first one. I don't even mean for story reasons, but so much of your appreciation for what Death Stranding 2 is doing will come from what you experienced in the first game, in a way that a story recap simply cannot emulate. But coming in at number 1, we of course have Mind's Eye. No, I'm joking, it's not Mind's Eye, it's Clare Obscure. Let me be completely clear. Clare Obscure isn't just the best game I've played this year. It is the best game I have played in years. Like, instant all-timer. I finished it, and I just kind of sat there. I didn't even know what to do. Games this good don't come along often, so when they do, you have to make sure you appreciate them. Everything about it just clicks. The story is, and I do not say this lightly, borderline perfect. It's daring, it takes risks, both structurally and emotionally, but unlike so many others, Clare Obscure actually follows through. There's a confidence in the writing that's really rare. It knows exactly what it wants to say, and it says it with precision, beauty, and weight. It's masterfully done. It doesn't rely on cheap twists or forced melodrama. It just tells a genuinely great story from start to finish, and the few twists that it does have, it builds them up and it earns them. And then there's the combat. Turn-based combat at its core, but with real-time inputs and reactive mechanics woven in. Every turn feels tactile, you're timing your blocks, you're aiming your shots, you're managing momentum, it's strategic, and it never gets old. This is the blueprint for how to modernise turn-based RPGs without losing the soul of the genre. Visually, the game is stunning, the world design is rich and imaginative, it's not bloated in any way, there is side content. You should do it because it's awesome, but you don't need to do it. And the soundtrack, one of the best I've ever heard in a game. Every single track lands. It knows exactly when to play music, when to be silent. It's just wow. If you combine this with the voice acting, which is outstanding across the board, somebody from this game has to win Best Performance at the Game Awards. My vote would go to Ben Starr, but anyone from this game that wins it would deserve it. It elevates the whole thing to another level. As with every other game on this list, I've praised the game, and then I've given a caveat. I don't have a caveat here. There isn't a, but if you're not into this, or, but if you can overlook that. There's nothing wrong with it. Clare Obscure is special. I will never stop singing this game's praises. It's the kind of game that reminds you why you fell in love with the medium in the first place. It sets a new bar for gaming in the modern era. If you haven't played it yet, what the hell are you doing? This is not just Game of the Year. To me, it's Game of the past couple years. At least back to Baldur's Gate 3. But regardless, wow. So those are the 10 games released in 2025 that I have enjoyed the most. I do have separate videos on each of these games, so feel free to go and watch them if you want to hear more. What are your favourite games of 2025? Please make sure to tell me in the comments so that I can judge you, but for now, that's all from me. If you did enjoy the video, then please consider leaving a like as it really does help. And remember, we are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you could subscribe, you could see a new video from me every single week. Lately, I've been doing 2, so you'd be really lucky. But anyway, you do you. Have a nice day, and goodbye.